Hello people watching this video. I was recently asked to give a talk about being a disabled service user and my experiences throughout my life with medical professionals and that kind of stuff. So I will now give you the talk. There is a transcript in the description, but I would appreciate you watching this video until the end. Okay, listening to it, cause the screen's gonna go blank. And if you like it, hit that like button, share it with your friends. Thank you. Okay, here's the talk. My name is Ted and I am not a statistic. I am an adult who happens to have cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy does not define me, but having it is enough of a unique experience that it has shaped my life in a certain way. The first big event that shaped me and later my experiences of medical professionals was being born. Previously, swimming around my mother's womb, I did not have cerebral palsy, but soon after my birth I did. So what happened? Well, at about 8:35 a.m. on the 21st of November 1987, I popped out, and it was pretty obvious I was struggling to breathe. That is obvious to everyone present, but the doctors who did nothing for long enough for damage that couldn't be reversed to occur. Now I'm over this, and my parents didn't sue, but this wasn't my first sign that doctors are not always perfect. After that, the next big step in my life was going to primary school, which I hear was quite an eventful time, not least because the special needs coordinator, i.e. the person whose job it was to know about disability, started by asking my parents, what is cerebral palsy? But in hindsight, I suppose mainstream wasn't that bad. I made friends and could compete with my peers academically, but I wasn't so aware that my inclusion was an uphill struggle. My parents had to fight early on for me to stay until the end of the day because apparently they didn't want to employ my helper for all of those hours. Plus, no one seemed to want to push me. I was in the average group for everything and got the feeling it was too much effort to help me achieve those high grades. Up next was secondary education, which couldn't be more different. I went to a super duper specialist secondary school which provided all the care and support imaginable. There were on-site therapy of every description, which I think was the greatest aspect of going to a place like this, even if it was something I could not expect in the later years of my life. It was, however, a boarding school in the middle of the country, so socially I found it quite isolating. And there was also the fact my year seemed to mark a decline in the influx of students with no cognitive impairment, which I found very isolating as well. Still, I am lucky to have had so much support on hand, especially after what was to come. After a great 2 years studying A-levels at a local mainstream while still being supported by that specialist school, things went downhill in terms of support. I went to Cardiff University and was immediately hit with a sense of being in it by myself. It was my job to manage my own support and care, and any idea that there was any sort of on-site therapy was laughable. The university did provide me with note-takers for lectures, arranged special provisions for my exams, and helped me find domestic support, but everything else I had to sort out myself. It was a short learning experience, but maybe one too far, especially as I was supposed to be doing lots of learning already for my degree. And my degree was 13 years ago. How time flies. I can now say, after living independently for this long, I feel I have become a very skilled user of care. I employ my own PA, and that works very well for me. The downside is, in terms of medical help, I'm completely on my own. I was discharged from physio about 5 years ago, pretty much because I was too much hassle, and I've also developed a chronic cough, which, despite regular attempts to get help with, the doctors refuse to do anything about. The cough, I'm pretty sure, is a result of my posture and how that leads to my diaphragm putting pressure on my stomach and lungs. An example of my frustrations with medical professionals is that all they have attempted to do is put me on acid reflux medication. Now, it doesn't result in acid reflux, but I'm more or less certain that acid levels aren't the issue. It's my posture squeezing the acid up, but no doctor seems to want to look this deeply into it. Unfortunately, I get the feeling medical professionals don't always see the individual in terms of disability and impairment. They have a model of what to do with a specific impairment, and despite what they say when I look in the mirror, I ain't no model. So if you don't fit the model, you basically don't get any help. And that's what I think needs to be changed. Patients must be regarded on a case-by-case basis.